News from across the Federation, spanning the region and covering the globe. This is the Kyssfm SKN News Now Morning Edition, your one true source for news. And now your presenter.
Good morning. Today is Thursday, 15th March 2018. I am your presenter, Javon Library, and these are your top stories. Nationally, Honorable Marcella Library is blaming the Supervisor of Elections for electoral office flaws. Internationally, UK to expel 23 Russian diplomats over Skripal poisoning. And in sport, Roger Federer beat Jeremy Chardy to reach quarterfinals. We'll also have a look at today's updated weather forecast and Carib update. Now for a look at the news in detail. Parliamentary Representative for Constituency Number 2, Honorable Marcella Library, continues to speak out against a number of violations she claims exist within the electoral office. On Wednesday, Honorable Library directed all the blame to the sitting Supervisor of Elections, Elvin Bailey. Library accused Bailey of failing to efficiently rectify the many deficiencies brought to his attention, and in doing so is effectively condoning acts which she describes as both illegal and immoral.
The Supervisor of Elections, this is directed at him because we are going to hold him responsible for the violations that are going on currently in the electoral office. A growing list of violations are going on there. First of all, there is no publication of the monthly revised list in some of the months. We had requested these monthly revised lists. We wrote a letter, I think 2 letters to the supervisor requesting the monthly revised list. He responded by giving us some, and we didn't get some. We don't know where they are. And I understand that the Supervisor of Elections, in one of his weekly writings, said that the things that we are asking for, he's not legally obliged to give us. Well, I have news for him. So I just want him to know that if he thinks he's not legally obliged to give us this information, let him refuse to give us. Right? I wondered where his head is at. What is he really reading? Because under the Act, the Electoral Office is obligated to publish monthly revised lists every month. That's in the Act. And if they're not published, if they don't publish them, then they're violating the Act. And so we have a duty and a right to ask for them, and he has a duty to give us. So the non-publication of the monthly revised list is itself a violation of the law.
Honorable Library said these violations are part of a plan by Dr. Timothy Harris-led government to manipulate the electoral system. She further alleged that the manipulation of the voters' registration process is a key ploy in the coalition government's list of election gimmicks.
And I believe this is part and parcel, really, a deliberate attempt by the government to subvert and manipulate the electoral system as they see fit. And the Supervisor of Election is being used as part and parcel of that plan. And so you have the stark violation going on here as well of refusing to register people. Only about a week or so ago, there were some persons who went there to be registered and who were turned back, and they were told that the computers are not working. Could you believe that? Yeah. Just to frustrate them. Because they figure they're not going to come back. So the computer's not working. Now, if the computers are not working, how is it they don't have some other alternative system in place to register people? When people go there to register, oh, the computers are not working, so they turn them back. And so I'm appealing to those persons, please do not become frustrated. Go back and make sure that you become registered so that your name could be on the list when the time comes.
The United Kingdom government has pulled a red card against travels to Sinks and Nevis, encouraging their citizens to be cautious and aware of the crime situation that exists. This week, Wednesday, 14th March, the British Foreign and Commonwealth Office in London issued an advisory encouraging caution after it was reviewed by the body without amendments. An excerpt from the advisory advised British citizens travelling to the Federation to maintain at least the same level of personal security awareness as they would in the UK and make sure their accommodation is secure. This also applied to if they are staying on a yacht. The advisory said, be vigilant at all times, take care when walking alone off the busy main roads, and avoid isolated areas including beaches, particularly after dark. British nationals have also been warned to only use licensed taxis and take particular care at late-night street parties, especially during the festival season. The advisory further cautioned against carrying large amounts of cash or jewelry. If possible, it said, leave valuables and travel documents in a safety deposit box or hotel safe. You should check the hotel safe is securely fixed before using it to store your items. This comes after the unrelenting wave of serious crimes against both locals and tourists continuing in St. and Nevis. The unabated situation has received regional attention, which is now spilling over into the international scene. In international news, the UK will expel 23 Russian diplomats over the poisoning of former double agent Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia in the single biggest expulsion in more than 30 years. Theresa May, UK Prime Minister, says a deadline issued on Monday from Moscow to provide an explanation for how a Russian-made nerve agent had ended up in Salisbury met with complete disdain. She now has a week to convince EU leaders to back her measures against Moscow before a summit next Thursday. Barnaby Phillips reports.
There was an air of inevitability to the Prime Minister's announcement, given what she calls the contempt with which Russia has responded to her demands for an explanation of what the British authorities say was a nerve agent attack.
So, Mr. Speaker, there is no alternative conclusion other than that the Russian state was culpable for the attempted murder of Mr. Skripal and his daughter, and for threatening the lives of other British citizens in Salisbury, including Detective Sergeant Nick Bailey. This represents an unlawful use of force by the Russian state against the United Kingdom.
She told Parliament she's expelling 23 Russian diplomats alleged to be undeclared intelligence officers. They have a week to leave. She said the UK will suspend all high-level bilateral contacts with Russia and cancel a planned visit by Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Ministers and the royal family will boycott Russia's World Cup in June. And she said the government would freeze Russian state assets. If there's evidence, they may be used to threaten the life or property of UK nationals or residents. The opposition Labour Party leader Jeremy Corbyn was supportive up to a point. His spokesman later refused to say the Russian state was definitely at fault.
If the government believes that it is still a possibility that Russia negligently lost control of a military-grade nerve agent, what action is being taken through the OPCW with our allies? I welcome the fact the police are working with the OPCW. And has the Prime Minister taken the necessary steps under the Chemical Weapons Convention to make a formal request for evidence from the Russian government under Article 9.2?
From Russia itself, the message remains consistent. Speaking before Theresa May's announcement, the Foreign Minister was characteristically dismissive.
We will demand the application of international laws. We see no argument from our partners, and without demonstrating concrete facts, they'll be responsible for attempting to deceive the international community.
So at the Russian embassy in London, they'll be packing their bags. Anglo-Russian relations at their lowest point since the Cold War. But even now, Britain needs to keep open some lines of communication with Moscow. On so many issues, from Iran to North Korea, Britain can't afford to ignore Russia. The measures which have been announced here would have been largely anticipated by the Russians. What would really hurt them would be further multilateral sanctions involving other Western countries. For that to happen, Britain needs to convince its allies that this is not just a bilateral spat between London and Moscow, but an issue which has the potential to threaten the security of many Western countries. Barnaby Phillips, Al Jazeera, Westminster in central London.
And in sport, world number one Roger Federer registered a straight-set win over France's Jeremy Chardy to reach the BNP Paribas Open quarter-finals. Defending champion Federer, who is aiming for a record 6th title at Indian Wells, won 7-5, 6-4. The Swiss is unbeaten in 2018, having won 15 matches and claimed titles at the Australian Open and Rotterdam Open. He faces South Korea's Chung Hyun next after his 6-1, 6-3 win over Uruguayan Pablo Cuevas. The two last met in the Australian Open semi-finals, where Federer led 6-1, 5-2 before his opponent retired with blisters. This is the 20th time Grand Slam champion's best start to a season since 2006, when he went on to win 33 of his first 34 matches. He needed just 82 minutes to wrap up victory against Chardy, winning 100% of his first serves and breaking him just once in each set. And now for a look at today's weather forecast. Today will be mostly sunny and dry. Tonight we can expect mostly fair skies. Winds are southeasterly at 9 to 16 miles per hour. Seas are moderate waves, 1.5 to 2.1 meters or 5 to 7 feet. Small craft operators and sea bathers should exercise caution mostly on the north and east sides of the islands. Sea level pressure is 1017.5 millibars. Sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:19 a.m. The sun will set at 6:21 p.m. That item brings us to the end of Kyssfm SKN News Now Morning Edition. Now for a recap of this morning's stories. Nationally, Honorable Marcella Library is blaming the Supervisor of Elections for electoral office flaws. Internationally, UK to expel 23 Russian diplomats over Skripal poisoning. And in sport, Roger Federer beat Jeremy Chardy to reach quarterfinals. Thanks for tuning in for another SKN News Now presentation. I've been your presenter. Stay tuned, Carib Update is next.